Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Repitch. I'm David, along with Richard,
Hey guys.
and today we're going to be reviewing Thor 4, or better known as Thor Love and Thunder.
I don't think anyone ever, I think you and I are the only ones
Yep.
who Thor 4.
But it's fun
But
to
yeah.
say.
It is. They should have called it Thor 4. Yeah. Yeah. Came out, June of 2022?
Yeah, July 8th of this year. Yeah.
Okay. It came out in the summer. Okay.
Mhm.
Give us the facts, David. How does this movie do?
All right. So overall, I think obviously it did very well. Box office wise, I feel like Marvel at this point, they're too big to fail.
Yeah.
But here's the numbers I'll break down for you. So opening weekend, they opened up with about 144 mil. Domestic box office total ended up being about 343 mil. International box office was about 402 mil. So total rounds out to about like 745 mil.
Wow. And what was the budget again?
And the budget was sitting at around 250 mil.
Yeah, I think this is one of the more expensive Thor movies.
Yeah, surprisingly.
Marvel movies.
Yeah. I was very surprised with the production budget number. I was expecting like 150, 200 at most, but
It's probably like a lot of cameos, a lot of like actors.
Russell Crowe, and then you got Christian Bale in there, who's probably like,
Jane Foster's in there too. A lot of actors.
and then at this point, Chris Hemsworth is probably worth so much.
Millions, probably maybe a quarter of that's
Yeah.
But yeah, should we talk about the good and the bad, or is there anything else you want to mention?
I mean, I'll throw in little tidbits here and there, little
Alright,
fun facts.
Cool. Okay, let's talk about the good, because I have this movie. It bugged me. I mean, I watched it in Disney Plus, and I thought it was okay. But if I watched this in theaters, I think I would have hated it more. But let's talk about the good. Jane Foster, she was incredible. And Natalie Portman, great actress. I'm so glad they finally gave her something to do.
Yes, absolutely agree on that. I think I completely understand why she decided to leave Marvel.
Oh, yeah.
But this revival for her, I think it was great, and she obviously killed it.
Oh yeah, great job. I love that. Like there's certain scenes, certain actions that's like really pretty, really good looking. Like I love how Mighty Thor's hammer breaks apart and comes together. I think that's super creative, super cool. Because that doesn't happen in the comic books, right? Does it?
Not from what I remember. No, I don't
right?
remember seeing that at all.
But I think that's like super cool. I love that, and that's really good. There's a scene when who's it? What's the bad guy's name?
Gore.
Gore. When they're in that black and white world, that was like visually like, wow, that's real. This is really interesting. And what's the actor's name? Welcome to Repitch, where Richard doesn't know any of the actors' names.
The villain.
Yeah, the villain,
Christian Bale.
I think because Gore in the comics, he's a really weird, dark character.
Yeah.
That's like, yeah. But I think Christian Bale is a great casting.
Yes.
I mean, to the capacity they used him, that's my issue. Like I have a problem with that. But like the parts that he was in it, I'm like, whoa, I need to see more of this guy.
Seriously, oh my gosh. For me, I think Christian Bale was the best part of this movie. I think his performance was phenomenal. And I think, like you said, it seems like the character was great and Christian Bale brought him to life. But I feel like they could have used Christian Bale so much better in some other project in a much grander scale.
I 100% agree. Like his character was like, because like even though he's like quote unquote the villain, like he kind of makes sense. Like the gods in this universe are kind of jerks. Like they should deserve to die because we see in the pantheon of all the gods, they're all like making it like, oh, all these people sacrifice for me, and like all the gods are kind of dicks. And like, yeah, they all should die. Like the only good gods are like Thor and his friends. And I'm like, it's super compelling. Christian Bale did a great job.
Yeah, he was he was kind of terrifying at times. He really brought it out.
And like he does that so well, where he's compelling and he's the American Psycho terrifying.
Yeah, it's crazy. I think I see a lot of like or like some parts that he brought out, I was like, oh man, like he kind of could play the Joker if he really wanted to.
Oh, he could. Yeah, certain actors like, oh, he'd be a great Joker, but I don't want to see that.
Yeah.
That'd be terrifying. Like him, Willem Dafoe would be a great Joker, but like I don't. That'd be so scary.
Yeah.
Oh, what else? What else did you like about this movie, David?
Like you said, Jane Foster, Natalie Portman coming back, I think that was great. She definitely beefed up for this role. She looked pretty big.
She did.
Yep.
And I love, it's like in the comments, she's like battling cancer, and like the only way for her, like instead of finding treatment, like she becomes Thor, but she has to, and it's like, I love that because like, oh, it's like, it gives Natalie Portman another weight to this character. Like, does she want to live, like survive, or does she want to live, like as Thor? And that's really great. What else?
I enjoyed small bits of that whole like God summit part where like all the gods were meeting up. Like, I don't know if you caught it, but they kind of showcased the Panther God Bast.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, that's fun. But I wish I saw a little bit more. Like, if she had done something, it would have been a lot more fun. But I like their little small call outs to like other Marvel things.
It was nice seeing the Guardians of the Galaxies. Like they're only there for like 10 minutes and their interaction. I'm like, I kind of wish they were in this more, but whatever.
Yeah, I feel like I guess
you're kind of gypped.
Yeah, like I feel like this God killer thing was almost like what do you call it? Kind of like something that the Guardians could have been totally a part of a team of, and like
exactly
like the story of. I mean, like Chris
Peter Quill's like, I was a god too, basically.
Yeah, exactly. Like, that kind of took down a god, like
yeah, and it's just like, yeah, we're like dangerously encroaching the stuff that bugged us in this movie. What else was good?
No, I think a lot of
they brought back Lady Sif, which I thought was great. She's
great.
Oh
yeah, that short bit. That might be the only like one like real funny part I think I enjoyed in the movie.
She was like, oh, I could die now and go to Valhalla, and Thor's like, you can't go unless you die in battle. It's like, okay, never mind, I'm up.
It's like, I don't want to die.
She lost an arm. Who else? Who was Valkyrie? What's her name again?
Tessa Thompson.
Tessa Thompson, she's great in it. I wish she had more stuff.
Yeah, honestly, that's one of my gripes with this movie.
Yeah.
Not with Tessa Thompson. I think most of the actors in this movie did what they could with what they were given. And we'll dive into the cons and what we didn't like in a little bit. But do you have a few other things you want to mention?
I mean, the movie looks nice. It's fun. But yeah, let's talk about the things that bugged us, because I feel like there's a lot more.
Yeah. Would you like to start off, or?
Yeah, I'm trying to find. Do you know the tagline for this movie?
Oh yes, sorry about that. Yeah. I should have brought that up.
No. Because I think that tagline perfectly portrays what's wrong with this movie.
Yep. So the tagline for this movie is: Thor enlists the help of Valkyrie, Korg, and ex-girlfriend Jane Foster to fight Gore the God Butcher, who intends to make the gods extinct.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's not the tagline I was thinking.
Oh, the tagline. What's
the tagline? I think from one of the first trailers was, "Not every god has a plan." And I'm like, the irony in this, because I feel like they went into this movie with like, yo, there's a huge we have a huge whiteboard of these amazing ideas. Jane Foster as Mighty Thor. Yo, Gore, he's great. The comic books, people love him. Let's do this all in one movie, in one of the shortest Marvel movies out there. And I'm like, it really feels like they put a whole season of a show into like 2-hour movie, like less than a 2-hour movie.
Yeah. And
it really felt like they didn't have a plan. I mean, if I were to blame it on anything, it felt like the writing maybe. I'm like, oh, I really wish there was more to it.
Yeah, no, it's the same here. For me, I think the biggest issue is obviously, for me, for movies that I don't like, it mainly always boils down to the writing and story. And like this, like you said, it felt like a rushed effort, trying to push everything out. And especially like a lot of the jokes definitely felt forced. unnatural.
It felt awkward. It felt, yeah, like David. At this point, I'm kind of sick of Taika Waititi. Like when Korg gets like blown up and almost died, I'm like, oh, thank God, he is.
Oh yeah.
I don't know why people like him. I hate him. I think anytime he talks, it just sucks up everything out of the scene. And when he like died, I'm like, oh shoot, like there's weight to this. Like, no, he's still alive. He's a face, and he is a kid in the end. I'm like, oh God.
Even worse because I think Korg in the comics, he's actually a pretty like badass character.
Is he? He contributes almost nothing to this.
Exactly.
He's literally just a psychic. Not even. Oh God.
Yeah.
And like we talked about how like they give some good emotional weight to like, you know, Christian Bale's character. He's almost right. Like the gods in this universe are kind of dicks, and they let his kid die. And you know, Jane Foster, she's battling cancer, but like it's the comedy that kind of ruins it. Like you see, like there's a great scene when Jane, she gets out of the door and she's like you can see her like in front of a mirror, like she's clearly like suffering.
Yeah.
But she goes back the door and Mighty Thor and breaks the thing, and like there's that weight to the scene, and then immediately after you see she's talking to Valkyrie outside the bathroom, and it's like, oh, what is that? A grenade? Like, no, it's a speaker, and it's like it's supposed to be able to laugh. I'm like, wow, you really just killed. Like I don't know if it's improv. Like, oh, they're like just talk and let's see what we can do. Let's, you know, Ragnarok, lightning in the bottle. I feel like people love that.
Right.
I think a majority of that movie is great, but I don't think you could remake that. You know, like they definitely didn't.
I think, you know, a lot of what played into Ragnarok was also the fact that people were getting bored of Thor.
Yeah.
Like that the movies were not that great. They were pretty flat. They were boring. Kind of like a lot of what people felt like about Captain America when he first came around. And then Winter Soldier and Civil War really changed that all.
Oh, yeah.
You know, that's the same thing that happened for Thor and Ragnarok. And, you know, a lot of credit to Taika Waititi for that movie during that time. You know, he brought a new flavor to the character and brought a very new impression for the character in a much more enjoyable way for everybody. But it's almost like he tried to dial it up to like 10 for this movie, trying to plug in the same type of feel to it. But it got jumbled. Yeah.
But it's like there's like some serious themes to this, like revenge and like cancer. And like you can't really, it's really weird to add a Taika Waititi humor into it. Like it makes you want to feel. I'm like, oh wow, like I feel Christian, like what do you call it? Gore's pain of losing a daughter, but then you see Thor in the next scene just doing side splits as he's about to destroy the bad guys, and it's just like, this is weird. Like it's like this emotional whiplash to left and right.
Yeah, I will say though, like a lot of it does start picking up and starts to get a lot smoother and better after the second half of the movie. I think like a lot of the jokes kind of start dying out, and it picks up more of the story, and like it becomes a lot more serious, as you say.
Yeah. In the end scene when they're right at what was Gore going for, infinity or
eternity,
and like Thor basically has all these children, like, okay, let me give you these Thor powers, right, so we could fight. I mean, it's stupid. But like the stupid part of my brain, the Fast and Furious side of my brain, it's like, oh, that's really cute. I really like that idea. Like, oh, these kids using like their toys and stuff just to like beat up these monsters. Like, oh, like that's like every child's fantasy. But I'm like, yo, Thor, could you always do this? I'm like, this would have been really helpful for Hawkeye during Endgame. I'm like, yo, like, did you just learn this? Like, there were a lot of times you could have done this. You know what I mean?
Right. Just kind of like it pulled it out of thin air almost.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, well, he might have mentioned that. I don't know if this is going to work, but I'm like, so you're going to endanger these kids just so out of a whim? You know what I mean?
Right. This is the guinea pigs are these kids.
Exactly. And I'm like, I mean, calm down, son. The kids weren't terrible. Like, Gore's daughter, Love, and we found out this is called Love and Thunder because of her. Is that Hemsworth's actual daughter?
It actually is. That's one of the points I was going to bring across, which was kind of interesting, you know.
She was kind of boring in it too.
Thor ends up adopting his actual daughter.
Yeah. And I'm like, it ends with like, correct me if I'm wrong. The whole premise of this movie is Thor trying to find the next chapter in his life.
Right.
Like he wants to retire, but he can't.
Right.
But what
pretty
is
much
he gonna do?
he's pretty much going through a midlife crisis right now.
Yes, pretty much. Yeah. And he realizes he has issues with like how his relationship with Jane Foster ended. He dealt with that, and now he has this pseudo daughter, which is like really weird to think about. Like, oh, let me adopt my this enemy, and like, yeah.
That's one of the points I wanted to bring up. Like, I didn't really catch on for me. I was like, so this movie is about Thor's midlife crisis.
Yeah.
And the answer was for him to become an adoptive father.
Yeah, like, which is not the best answer. No. Like, oh, what? How do you fix a broken hole inside your heart? Just have kids. Like that's basically the answer. I'm like, I don't think that's the best answer for human like people. Like kids are not going to solve your issues. But like, it's like even with Gore, I keep forgetting his name.
Christian Bale.
A phenomenal actor. You only see him kill one god. And that's my biggest issue. And like the gods that he's killed kind of deserved it.
Right.
Like I saw this review of like, I kind of wish that there were kinder gods. Like, oh, maybe there's a god that's helping a farmer, bringing water. And Christian Bale like crosses the line. He's killing everybody.
Right.
Like you hear him passing Thor. Like Thor's like, oh, this giant god. He's really friendly.
Yeah, exactly. That's like the only one time where it's just like, oh, this guy's out of control. When in fact, like the beginning intro, like you said, he's like that sun god who like, shows serious apathy for, humans and like Gore and like his people, his daughter. You side with him in that point. It's just like,
I'm like, oh, Christian Bale, I'm on your side right now. It's just like,
yeah, and like you said, like the only instance where it was just like, oh, like he's kind of doing whatever now, he's just killing everybody, is that one giant god monster thing where like Thor just says in passing, oh, like he's one of the nicest gods out there. It's just like, okay, just because you say that.
Yeah, I don't believe you, Thor. Like, can you show me, not tell me? The classic thing. It's just like, and like, who's Zeus in this again?
Russell Crowe.
Russell Crowe was extremely distracting. Like even the whole scene, like, oh, there's Bao, he's a giant dumpling guy, and I'm like, am I supposed to laugh because this is? It might be offensive. Yeah, like a dumpling. I don't know if this is offensive or just lame, but it's just like, this is weird. Like, what's the point? Like, what's the point of this? Like, I know you're gonna fight. I know you're gonna steal his lightning bolt, and like they don't really do that much with the lightning bolt. And I'm like, and just like. The whole point of introducing Zeus is like the end credit scenes. Like we see Hercules, and I'm like, okay,
yeah, seriously. If for me that was a big issue too. Like I said with the writing, it felt like a lot of the parts that should have been emphasized felt too short, and everything that was too short or like too long like should have been cut out.
Yeah.
And one of the things I really wish they brought out more was this whole God Summit. Like where they could have introduced because like in the Marvel universe, all the different pantheons of gods are their own heroes and like their own characters. And this, I thought this was gonna be that time for them to be really introduce everybody in that way. But it seems like you said, the main purpose for Zeus to come out and like to have his time was to lead us into the next movie.
Yeah. Which is like, really? Like, and just like what it felt like is just like, hey, Taika Waititi, here is some bullet points. We want a movie like this, but do whatever you want. That's really what it feels like. It's like, we trust you. You did a great job with Ragnarok and like all that stuff. We love you. Do whatever you want. And like, it didn't feel like, we have our issues with like, with companies being too much in their hand in a movie because it kind of drains out the creativity. But I feel like this is one of those scenarios where I kind of wish they were more involved. You know what I mean?
Yep. And I mean, correct me if I'm wrong or please remind me, but it almost felt like that whole God Summit, that God meeting scene, that portion of it was a little unnecessary, right?
Oh, 100%.
Like there was nothing that really moved the story afterwards except for like, cause like the reason, the lightning bolt. And the only reason why they went there was because Thor wanted to reach out to Zeus and see what he'd be able to do.
No, like it's honestly for trailers. Like, was that you see that scene all the way in trailers? Like, oh, Zeus, and whips his hand and Thor's naked. Like for all the trailers,
Right.
And I'm like, okay, yeah, sure, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's. I don't know where they're gonna go with the fourth movie. Like, there is like, are you gonna have Thor have a kid? I'm like, that's kind of boring. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, seriously, I'm curious. I mean, obviously, the build up, the idea is for it to be like a Hercules versus Thor movie or something like that. I don't know if you were able to see the end credits.
Isn't where Hercules?
When Hercules pops up.
Yeah.
So obviously, it seems like that's the direction that they want to move in, but I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what happens with that.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, is there anything else that bugged you about this movie? Any pros or cons?
yes. One big fact for me was the character and writing for Valkyrie.
Yeah.
I think Tessa Thompson, like we said, I think she does a great job with the character, what she's given. But this character, Valkyrie, seems to have really fizzled out as a character throughout the entire like Marvel universe. Yeah. She goes from like being one of the most badass characters, and then
as the queen as Asgardians,
right? And now it starts off with like, you know, she's really struggling with this new role and kind of going through a lot with it. But then they just kind of brush it over, just like. I just wish they tapped into that struggle with her, like kind of was really able to. But I mean, if their argument is that, you know, then it would have been too much, you know, there's already all these other things going on with these other main characters, then, you know, why even bring this character into it then? Like, you just want to do it for fan service, then.
Exactly. And like, I completely agree. Like, there's a scene where they're on their way to go on that dark planet where all the kids are kidnapped, and she and Korg are talking, and she's sipping on a mojito and like talking about life. And I'm like, what are you doing with this character? She's this passive person. She's just there to be another action person. Like, she has some great action scenes, yeah. But like, yeah, they jip her in the third act. Like, oh no, you stay behind while Jane and I will go. I'm like, or you need her. Like, I don't know why you wouldn't take her. I'm like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, seriously. So yeah, that's my one last gripe with this movie is the fact that they really didn't write that character well for this one.
Yeah. Another thing is, in the end, I like the way Jane died. I think it was poetic. You know, she chooses to become Thor just so she could save the world, and like that's the way she wants to go. Mm-hmm. And it bugged me that we see her go to like Valhalla, heaven, and see Heimdall.
Yeah, I mean, I get it, but I also it's like what?
Like, I don't know about you, but like kind of like it wasn't. It kind of jipped me. Like, oh, like
right. It takes away from the death. 100%.
Yeah, it does. Like, it happens like immediately too, like really quick.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, it kind of, again, like you feel like, oh, they build up to such a cool part, like, oh man, like a god kill, like, oh, Mighty Thor, all this stuff, and it's just like the payoff is so weak.
Right. Yeah. 100%. It's just, I think in that if they just kept her, I mean, I guess the argument is that she is dead. Like Valhalla, they're dead, but they should have just, you know, cut it there, just ended it there.
I agree.
I mean, it was great to see Heimdall again, but even that also, I feel like
they gypped him too.
Bringing him back because his death was so significant for Infinity War.
Yeah,
like to be able to like just bring him back in that way, it just seems like Marvel is obviously going in this route where like we could do whatever we want now.
I mean, they can.
I mean, yeah. But it really takes away from the whole story and the weight of what happened before, in my opinion.
I completely agree. It's just like, oh, okay, the payoff isn't as so satisfying. Mm. So, are you ready for my pitch, David?
Yes. So again, just as a reminder to the listeners, this isn't it's not a, or did we tell them? We didn't.
No, we didn't tell them yet.
Okay. So this is not a repitch for Thor Love and Thunder, but this is going to be a new pitch for what Thor 5 or what Richard thinks Thor 5 should be.
Yeah. And, you know, in this world, we'll say, okay, Thor 4 happened, and sadly, we heard the news that Chris Hemsworth, sadly, from both sides of his family, has that gene where he has a good chance of having Alzheimer's. Sad. He took a break from acting, which he definitely should. Mm-hmm. And like this conversation, like, yeah, this might be his last Thor movie, which like as a fan, I'm like, I completely understand. Family first, mm-hmm. He owes nothing to us, and him choosing that's every right.
Yeah, I mean, even as an actor, as a person, he definitely should be doing that, and I respect that so much, and I think he needs that time off. But even just as a character, though, I think Thor's time should be at an end.
I completely agree, and I think I want Thor 5 to be a send off for him. His last Thor movie.
Oh, okay. Are we gonna hear about a death? I'm excited.
Yeah,
I'm excited.
He's gonna die. Thor's gonna die. Everyone's gonna die. Richard, calm down. Okay, this is gonna be kind of a teamwork. I'm gonna have like a frame in mind. I'm gonna have a couple of ideas, and you and I will flesh it out because
Gotcha.
I only brought this is a group project.
Gotcha.
I only bought 50% of the work. So basically, what I want to happen is that his adopted daughter, she's a teenager, young adult. She grows up.
Okay.
And this is kind of like Thor is, he still has issues, but he's dealing with what it's like to be a father and stuff like that. And the bad guy in this, so this is like, it's in the comic books right now, it's kind of crazy for Thor. His hammer, the being inside, manifested into its own being.
Oh.
So that's kind of who I want the bad guy to be, is Thor's hammer, the being inside.
Okay, all right.
So it's like Thor is no longer a warrior. He's basically just a stay-at-home dad. And the war's like, you're not a warrior anymore. Who are you? What are you doing? So Thor is trying to fight this character. And someone I want to introduce back into Thor's life, which I think could be really good, a great send-off, is Loki.
Okay.
Yeah, I want Tom Hiddleston to be back in this. And, I think what would be great is like, his Marvel TV show, he's still around. It's great. I don't know where this is going to be in time-wise, but I think this is going to be before the Avengers, before they verse, what's his name? Who's the main big bad guy?
Oh, Kang,
he's in it, And we're back introduced to Tom Hiddleston, and they're trying to figure out, okay, how do we fight Thor? How do we fight the hammer, basically? And basically what I want to happen is Thor sacrifices himself, realizing that it is his time to leave with this hammer. And I don't want to cop out like, oh, here's young Thor. Like, I don't want that. Because I feel like what Marvel is trying to do is, okay, how can we make more money by making the next generation of Avengers? I don't want, what do you call it?
A new Thor.
I don't want Love to, whatever they got adopted daughter, to be the next Thor. Like, she could be her own character.
Yeah.
She could carry Stormbringer, whatever. I want her to be a new IP, new interesting character. But I want Loki to be the new Thor.
Oh, interesting.
Yes. And so Thor sacrifices himself. I don't know why. Maybe like, the hammer is destroyed, but a new hammer is forged from the remaining parts. So what happens is, this is very similar to the comics, but like Loki's holding the hammer, and instead of hearing the voice of the old hammer, you hear Chris Hemsworth's voice. But a little part of his soul is still behind that hammer. So even though Chris Hemsworth is not acting, you could still kind of see Loki and Chris Hemsworth having that back and forth.
So, sorry. Go ahead and finish. I'm just like trying to think of questions.
Yeah, and I don't know. Maybe I want to bring young Loki here. That'd be really fun too. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know. I just have parts of it.
Okay.
But I just wanted to end where, Thor realizes that it's his time to leave. But like, one thing that we're really missing in this is the Odin Force. And Thor, like, like the Odin Force is like this like powerful thing that he's supposed to have, and you give to the next generation, stuff like that. But I think the best way to send them off is like, okay, let me get off. Let me die with the hammer. I don't know. So David, help me.
I got you.
What do you think?
I will say trying to do a Thor 5 is definitely really difficult.
Oh, so Hercules is also in this, but they're building it up.
Okay.
But he's more of a comical character than anything.
Gotcha. So, question for that then:
Yeah.
is he gonna be throughout the movie? Do you want him to be throughout the movie, or is that gonna be like resolved within the first?
No, because he is an Avenger. I think it'd be good for him to be there.
Gotcha. Okay. No, I agree too. Like kind of more of a team up in that way.
Oh yeah. But we're more like a begrudgingly team up. You're like, oh, I like someone is killed. I don't know. We can't kill God, so someone is like wreaking havoc. It's Thor's hammer and something like that.
See, that's the toughest thing about trying to pitch a Thor 5, because the villain for Thor 4 was a literal god killer. Like, so like where do you go? Yeah, what are you supposed to do there? So like your idea of trying to make it like, oh, like the hammer comes to life in a way. It brings a little bit more weight, I guess, and makes it more personal for Thor. And I think because you see a lot of that, in Thor 4 or Love and Thunder, like how much he misses the hammer, how much he's been like looking for that hammer, almost, and like
he's talking to it and flirting with it. Very interesting. Yeah.
Yep. So I think bringing that aspect back out and kind of like manifesting the hammer in some way where it becomes this villain, is definitely interesting. I guess the question there would be, what does it want to do? Why does it feel like it needs to be, let's say like destroy the worlds or like, become this big bad villain?
I think the idea is like when it was forged from a dying sun. So it's alive. It's a thing. And it's just like its purpose was for war. Its purpose was to destroy as a hammer. But now Thor is not really fighting. Thor is just at home with his kid. Yeah, they're training or whatever, but like he's like neglecting it. And I don't know. It could be something weird, but like kind of like that.
So almost kind of like a Napoleonic effort where he's just trying to start out, make a statement and like become that,
a
like
jealous person. It's like kind of like hella kind of mind of you, like, oh, daddy didn't love me enough, so I'm gonna destroy the world.
Okay. Maybe not tap into that, but I like the idea of like you're saying, like he was a dying star. He was meant for this. He was bred for this. But
we'll make it a she. So,
or she, yeah.
Yeah.
She or he, she.
I don't know.
Like she was bred for this, and she was supposed to be this warhammer, just kind of in that sense. I think where this hammer really misses its role as a warrior. So kind of like, I guess it wants to spark a new revolution or like just cause trouble, I guess, like kind of like in a, I don't want to say like anarchist way where it just wants to see things destroyed, but maybe
it wants to show Thor the joy of war.
Right.
Trying to remind him, like, Thor, this is what your purpose is. It's not to stay at home, but it's to fight in these battles. But I think then we really tackle into the growth of Thor. Like, no, Thor is not always about battle. He's grown as a character.
So will this be a hammerless Thor again? Will he not have Stormbreaker as well? Will Stormbreaker also be manifested into a?
That'd be pretty cool. But no. I mean, Stormbreaker did have his own character. That'd be interesting. To be honest, I'm surprised they still have Stormbreaker in the Marvel universe because that makes things a little bit more weirder. Like,
yeah.
But like, yeah, no. Stormbreaker is still Stormbreaker, but Thor, yeah.
So Stormbreaker is going to be a big play because I think at the end of Thor: Love and Thunder, Stormbreaker was being used by Love, right? Or am I?
It doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter, right?
I think she was, yeah.
So I guess the easy write off would be like she's somewhere else with Stormbreaker or something like that.
And like, why would Loki be back? Maybe the Stormbreaker. You know how the Stormbreaker can basically travel anywhere,
right? Yeah.
Maybe he summoned Loki by accident, not accident, on purpose to help Thor.
So how does So, because the other part of this is also Loki's technically dead in this
Yeah.
specific timeline. Where is he coming back? Like, how is he coming back?
So it's just like in a TV show. He's still the Avengers Thor. He doesn't have that relationship, but he knows that he dies. He knows that it's this.
Right.
So he's still kind of like not buddy, but like he realizes he's at fault and he's sorry. And we've never really had closure with Thor and what do you call it, Loki. But how great would it be if, instead of the idea of like, hey Loki, instead of like, hey little child that no one cares about, you be Thor, but like, no, Loki, I want you to take my place. I want you to be part of Earth's mightiest Avengers. And I don't know how much Tom Hiddleston wants to act, but like you can easily introduce a young Loki, which has been a super popular character, like a young version of him. Like, clearly that's what they're aiming for with Marvel, like Spider-Man, Miss Marvel, She-Hulk, and like young actors. So like I think that'd be really cool. Yeah.
All right. Okay. So we kind of got like the characters down. We got the reasoning down, the villain, like why they want to do this.
How does he die?
Yeah. How is it? What's the big conclusion? What's the big climax? How does this go down?
What's the most painful way for Thor to die? He could easily, let me go sacrifice myself against this. It'd be really cool if the hammer somehow infiltrates Valhalla and starts killing the dead souls in there.
Oh, that would make it. That would bring it up to another level for sure.
Yeah. And I mean, it'd be really cool for Thor to meet his father there and his mom, and just like having like, okay, he needs to save his parents again. He's not gonna let his mom die again. Oh, that'd be so good. How crazy it would be if Thor lost his mom again for the second time. That'd be so good.
I see that. There's a lot of weight to that. Do you think people will be tired of that? Just be like, oh man, like this is happening.
He's lost his mom twice. Maybe like that gives it the weight. I mean, like any kind of movie, like why does Thor care? Just who cares? Just let the hammer be the hammer. But like the idea of like, oh, his heaven is not being breached, but I don't want Jane Foster. I hated how Jane Foster you see Valhalla being real.
Right.
But yeah.
I do like that though. I like that brings the weight to another level, because like we're trying to think of a way where like how do you raise the stakes when the villain was already a little god killer,
killing gods.
Like I guess the next step would be like killing
heaven.
Yeah. So somehow, some way, I think you could fit that into this. But does that take away from the original idea we had, where like the main purpose of this manifested Mjolnir, the hammer, main purpose is to start war, not just go around and killing all this? Like, is there a reason why he's going to be going into the Valhalla? And does he want to wage war on Valhalla? Like, is there
maybe wage war on Odin? Like, what's the best way to find Odin? Go to heaven.
All right.
It'd be crazy if the hammer destroys Stormbreaker.
That would be fun.
Kind of like, how like Ultron absorbed, what do you call it?
Oh, it's Jarvis, yeah.
Yeah, in the same way, Thor, the hammer, destroys Stormbreaker as revenge.
Or like when he gets manifested into this being, he uses Stormbreaker.
That'd be dope. That'd be pretty cool.
That would be
literally
sick.
Thor literally has nothing.
Exactly. I think that would, raise the stakes up even more.
Instead of bringing back Tom Hiddleston, because I feel like that could be complicated, or that would be really nice.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe because of some, multiverse madness, insanity, we actually see a young Thor. They actually cast a young Loki.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I like that. I do like him being able to touch base again with Loki.
Yeah. So we don't see Tom Hiddleston. I think Tom Hiddleston should talk to the young Loki. I think that'd be great. But like, how great would it be for Thor to talk to an angsty Loki that hates him?
Yeah. No, I like that.
Who would I cast?
Yeah, who would be a good young Loki, like a teenage young adult Loki?
I don't know any teenage actors that I like. That sounds really weird to say, that are good.
I feel like, I don't know, maybe Timothée Chalamet kind of has a look.
I was just thinking it, but he will never do it.
He won't do that.
He's too bougie.
Let's see.
Who was, it'd be great, but no one, he wouldn't do it. Who? Oh no, he's a terrible actor. Spider-Man 2, Amazing Spider-Man 2, Green Goblin.
Oh, Dane DeHaan, I think, or something
Yeah,
like that.
he looks like he could be a young Loki,
Oh yeah, I think that would not be bad. That wouldn't be bad.
but I can't think of one. We'll just say him for a placeholder. Or
There's
what do you
also,
think? Yeah.
oh, one of the first names that comes up is Asa Butterfield.
Was he in?
He has been in Ender's Game. And
yeah.
there's Ender's Game and all. What else does he have?
He was pretty good in that.
Yep. And a bunch of other stuff.
That'd be good.
I would say maybe even like Will Poulter, but he's got his own MCU role now too.
Who's Will Poulter again?
Will Poulter. He's gonna play Adam Warlock. He plays the guy who looks like Sid from Toy Story.
Oh, him.
Yeah.
I still haven't seen that trailer, but yeah. I mean, that's pretty much my pitch, David. Thank you for helping me fill out. Anything else?
Gotcha.
End credit scene.
Oh wait. I don't think we really paved out. Smooth out the way he dies.
He dies voluntarily, knowing that the only way for the hammer to die, the spirit, if he dies with it.
No, I agree with. I kind of like. I want to go back to like, you know how they were first building Stormbreaker, and like he had to open up these gates, and he was getting hit with the force of the sun star, and like that. That's one of the few times where you really see Thor kind of like getting wrecked by that. So I think it needs to be something along those lines. Like
that'd be interesting.
Yeah. So it's either like he takes in like I guess the only way that Mjolnir, or this manifested version of Mjolnir, sees that, like his only way of like really like waging war is like kind of imploding and exploding. But Thor's the only one who can contain that. He kind of like, you know, just kind of like covering the grenade type of thing.
Yeah. And it'd be really interesting. It's like Thor: Love and Thunder. One of the things they, the whole gore, the comics. One thing they didn't do, which has been really interesting, is see a big part of that movie. A big part of the comic book is that you see young Thor when he's young and older Thor when he becomes king. It would be really cool if you kind of see that, like, was Thor younger, stuff like that. I don't know if that sounds like a long movie. But that's something else that's a con. I'm like, oh, how cool it would have been if you see 3 different Thors fighting against Christian Hiddleston. Nope, that's not his name.
Tom Hiddleston?
Tom Hiddleston. No.
Oh.
Who? Gore.
Oh, Christian Bale. Sorry.
Christian Bale. How crazy would that have been?
That would have been pretty fun.
But yeah.
How about this though? Like an ending. What do you think of this? Ending in a way where Thor ends up becoming King Thor, rather than, like that's how he settles down and he kind of becomes this new king of Asgard again, and really relishes that. I know in the comics there's a storyline where he's like that, where he lost his arm, he has his new like metal arm and all that stuff. Do you think that is like a proper send off in a way where he settles into this role as king?
Because the whole time, like when Kang is fighting the world and all that stuff, everyone's like, "Where's Thor? Where's Chris Hemsworth?"
Okay.
Like I want to Iron Man him.
So like just realize he's not available anymore. Okay.
He is not. He is gone.
Gotcha.
He is not a thing. But like, yeah, you could definitely bring him back in one way or another.
Right. I guess one more point I'll bring up, because with the whole like, him being king and people asking where he was, we could say the same thing about when like the first Avengers happened, or first two Avengers happened, and Odin never showed up, right?
Oh, he can't come back, but he's busy with the others. Balancing I mean, like if a threat level like Kang comes back, that's a whole different scale. You know what I mean?
You're right.
Yeah. Earth is being invaded, whatever. But
gotcha.
You think Thor would not come back to save Earth?
You're right. It's a different. Yeah, he's different. He has different association with Earth than Odin did. But
I think the only way is to kill him, or like send him in a long journey or something stupid.
Yeah. No, I think with that being said, I think killing him is the right way to go about it. It's
I don't think
macabre.
killing him, just ending him. That's even worse somehow. Just ending him. But yeah, I think that would be a good send off for Chris Hemsworth. He's done a great job. He's done something amazing for this role. Like Thor, honestly, no one really cares about him. Only comic fans, but like made a Norse mythology character into a likable person,
Right.
where he thrives in the third movie, unheard of.
Right. He really came into his own, and I will say, almost to the point where like we see Robert Downey Jr. as Iron Man, Tony Stark. It's kind of hard to imagine anybody else in this Thor role now. Like Chris Hemsworth is Thor, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm. No, I completely agree. It's the same way as Robert Downey Jr. will always be Iron Man.
Yep, exactly. All right. So there it is. Our pitch for Thor 5.
Yeah, thank you so much for helping out, David. I had the beginning, somewhat of a middle, but I didn't have an end.
No, solid way to plot it out, I think.
Yeah. And David, where can our wonderful audience find us?
Oh, real quick though. Did you happen to know that Chris Hemsworth's entire family was in this movie? Like not
His
just
entire family?
like almost, I think both of his sons played like younger versions of him when like that scene where you see Thor running through the forest. Like there's like a little Thor. I think those were his sons. Like in the beginning when like he's telling his story. And then there's a scene where like he's talking about where he's like sitting on top of a wolf and he's making out with a woman. That was his wife.
That's hilarious. Oh, wow. Like, if you're Chris Hemsworth and you've done this 4 times, you could pretty much do whatever.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure he was a pretty big producer for this movie as well at this point.
That's pretty funny. His whole family, that's really... I wonder if they all got paid. That's like, oh, this is a family trip, guys. We're all going together. That could be an episode in itself where actors have their own family members inside the movies.
Yes. Actually, one of these days we got to talk about the whole idea of nepotism in Hollywood.
Huge. Oh my god. Yeah.
But of course, episodes come down to an end. But you guys know where to find us. Just look at our descriptions. You guys can find us on our Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. And if you guys have any comments, you like our pitch, don't like our pitch, you guys can share us, rate us, berate us. Shoot us an email at repitchpodcast@gmail.com. And as always, just a big shout out to our friend Joe Yoo for helping us with the sound editing and with the intro, outro music. And if you guys want to hear his music too, look for him on SoundCloud. Description is or his information is in the description below.
Yeah, and if you haven't listened to it already, a couple of days ago we released a great episode about of the great Kevin Conroy. We talked about his life, the roles he plays, some of the favorite stuff that he's been in, and yeah, definitely take a listen. And to wrap up today's episode, I have a quote from this movie. Jane Foster, as the whole time she's trying to find a catchphrase, which I didn't hate. Stupid, but I didn't hate. She ends up saying, "I'm not Lady Thor. My name is Mighty Thor. And if that's too hard for you, you can call me Dr. Jane Foster. And one last thing, eat my hammer." All right, guys. We'll see you guys later.
See you.